As I began to investigate the resurrection, I was stunned because when I was a little kid, I don't know if you had this when you were a kid, my parents for Christmas gave me this punching clown. It was weighted on the bottom. It was about 3 feet tall, and it was inflated, and it was a clown. And you would hit it like a punching bag, and because it was weighted on the bottom, it would go down when you would hit it, but then it would bounce back up. And then you'd hit it again. It was a toy that I got when I was a kid. That's how I pictured this. I thought I had a knockdown punch. I thought I could disprove Christianity. So I'd hit it with an objection, and it would bounce back. There's an answer to that. Doggone it. What about this? Bang, I'd hit it again, and it would bounce back. There's an answer to that. So I was stunned because I did not expect there to be any historical validity to the fact that Jesus died on a cross and rose from the dead. But I can summarize it really quickly, what I found, using 4 words that begin with the letter E. That way people can remember. Because remember, it's Christmas. The reason Jesus came was Easter, the resurrection. How do we know it's true? 4 words that begin with the letter E. Execution. Jesus was dead after being crucified. I thought maybe he survived, and the cool, damp air of the tomb resuscitated him. That's what I thought. No, we have no record anywhere of anyone surviving a full Roman crucifixion. Anywhere. Not only do we have multiple accounts in the documents of the New Testament that tell us that Jesus was dead after being crucified, we've got 5 ancient sources outside the Bible that talk about him being dead.
What are those sources?
Oh, like Josephus, Tacitus. These are early historians. Mirabar Serapion, Lucian. Even the Jewish Talmud admits that Jesus was executed. So Jesus was clearly dead. In fact, get this. The Journal of the American Medical Association, a secular, scientific, peer-reviewed medical journal, carried an investigation into the death of Jesus. And this was their conclusion, quote, "Clearly, the weight of the historical and medical evidence indicates that Jesus was dead even before the wound to his side was inflicted." So that's the Journal of the American Medical Association. You could go to an atheist New Testament scholar like Gerd Ludemann, and he will tell you the death of Jesus on the cross by crucifixion is historically indisputable. That's the atheist speaking. So the first E is for execution. Jesus was dead. The second E stands for early reports that he rose from the dead. In other words, reports that didn't come after decades of legendary development, but go right back to the cross itself. In other words, I used to think as a skeptic, okay, I got to give you the fact Jesus was dead, get it. But the resurrection is a legend. And I knew it took time for legend to develop in the ancient world. You know, the great historian A.N. Sherwin-White of Oxford said the passage of 2 generations of time is not even enough for legend to grow up and wipe out a solid core of historical truth. So I knew it took a few generations for legend to develop. Well, what I learned is that we have a report of the resurrection of Jesus, including named eyewitnesses and groups of eyewitnesses that said he died, why? For our sins. He was buried. On the 3rd day, he rose from the dead. And these eyewitnesses, groups of eyewitnesses and individuals, this report has been dated back by scholars to within months of his death.
Wow.
Within months. Yeah, wow. That's a newsflash.
You can see this.
It's in the Bible. 1 Corinthians 15, starting at verse 2. That is a nugget that talks about the resurrection of Jesus. Who wrote 1 Corinthians? Paul. Paul had been someone who didn't believe in God. He was a Pharisee. He didn't believe in Jesus. He was persecuting Christians. He's on the road to Damascus. Boom, he has this encounter with the risen Christ. He realizes Jesus is God, and he becomes the Apostle Paul.